Let's get to the final game. Philadelphia Eagles at the New Orleans Saints. It looked like the Foles magic. I mean, the beginning of that game, Breeze throws a pick. It's 14-0. Amazing start for the Eagles, but then they got shut down for the rest of the game. How
insane is that, by the way? This game was 14-0.
Almost immediately.
Then the Eagles didn't score again.
It's also one of those things where it's like, okay, the Saints received the opening kick. Breeze throws a pick on his first pass, and you're like, all right, we're getting the ball in the second half if you're the Eagles, and everything's set up.
That was as good a start as they could have wished for, and the Saints were legitimately rattled. Like they, went for the fourth down conversion on a trick, fake punt. This was a team that I think was feeling they needed to do something pretty quickly to get back in this game because things were starting to get ugly. And it's amazing that we went from that situation to the Eagles didn't score again for the rest of the game and ended up needing to try and, execute a magical comeback right at the death. And obviously we know how that went.
So this is another point, though, too. All of these good teams kept stealing possessions, right, by going for it on fourth down.
Yeah.
The Rams did it that one time, right? Was the Rams that did it?
I mean,
the Cowboys were aggressive.
Teams generally this season, like as much as everybody wants to keep hammering teams for making these incorrect decisions, whether you went for two or not, teams have, if nothing else, teams have obviously got the message about going for it on fourth down.
Like, just to talk about
the
Jason
league,
Garrett,
period, has gotten way more aggressive with that.
This feels like the easiest thing to adjust. To make Andy Dalton an elite quarterback is probably not going to happen overnight, right? Or ever.
Correct.
To tell your head coach, like, hey, we ran some numbers on fourth down decisions, you should probably be more aggressive. Right. That could happen on like the Saturday night before the game.
Yes.
So that also feels like Jason Garrett, who's got this conservative reputation and he punts every time they're inside the opposing territory. I mean, the Cowboys front office people could have just sat down with him and said, look, Jason, we're the underdog. We shouldn't even be here. You got to start going for it. And he just said, okay, I'm going to be more aggressive. I feel like that's an easy adjustment. My point with the Saints, though, is every time it's 4th and 1, they seem like, we're pretty much going to go for it.
I think generally the league has gotten way more aggressive with that. Peter King, in his Monday column for NBC now, what is that called?
Monday Morning in America.
There you go.
Isn't it?
I think so, yeah. He's got a bit in it from Pro Football Focus with the percentages in fourth down. So in 2016, teams went for it on fourth and short 23% of the time.
Okay.
2017, they went for it on 24% of the time.
24.
But this year, it's up to 31. So it's a pretty significant kick in the right direction of being more aggressive on those fourth and short plays. I think you're seeing that. Can
you imagine how high-scoring games will be when that gets closer to 40?
Yeah,
45, 50.
We actually get to the neighborhood of the percentage of converting that play.
I saw people, because again, we don't take full credit for this. Like other people have studied, like,
of course,
go for it on fourth down more often. The run game's over. People have studied this before, but I saw the breakdown of like when you should go for it. Essentially, if it's 4th and 1, anytime you're on like your own 30, the 30's like that's the cutoff. Anytime you get to your own 30 and it's 4th and 1, go for it every time. 4th and 2's like the cutoff's like the 40. 4th and 3's right around the 40. I mean, it's almost like go for 75% of your 4th and shorts, 4th and 3 or less.
Yeah.
For the most part. So when the league gets to that point, between the successes on those plays and then the failures on those plays that lead to other scores, we're going to see even more scoring.
It was an uptick of 7%. From the year ago.
Good math. You're a math guy.
Thanks. That 7% uptick led to 43 additional touchdowns on those drives.
That's the difference in the year, right? It was like an 80 touchdown difference last year to this year.
So this spike in offensive production, a huge part of it is the teams kept the drive alive on a significantly larger percentage of their drives than they did the year before and the year before that.
And this is very similar to the NBA saying a 3-pointer is more valuable than a 2-pointer. Now, I know that sounds easy, but take more threes because it's 1.5 times the value of a 2-pointer.
Good math.
Right? How's that?
Yeah.
But it's essentially the same thing. Like, field goals have value, but I'm going to take this risk. I have a 60% chance of converting, and then I'm going to get more touchdowns.
Right. I mean, this whole drive in analytics, there is obviously a giant breadth of what analytics encompasses.
Yes.
But this is one of the most simple things, right? This is one of the most stark and easy things that the analytics says is go for 4th and short more. because it makes everything better. It works out for your benefit in the long term. And I think A, we're seeing it happen, and B, we're seeing the change in mentality from coaches thinking, well, I don't want to be the guy who makes a mess of it on fourth down because I'll spend the week talking about it and have to justify it. Now it's almost the other way around. If you don't go for it, you have to justify why you
your
did
punt.
Right,
yeah.
why you were so conservative, why you didn't go for it when the numbers say you should have, because now everybody's having access to these numbers and knows the math behind it. So now we're seeing coaches essentially forced into making those decisions because the data is out there to tell them to do it.
All right, let's get to the rest of the Eagles and Saints here. So the game starts as well as it can for the Eagles.
Yeah.
14 points right off the bat. Foles makes a beautiful touchdown pass down the field. Foles seems to have this knack, kind of like I say Cam Newton has. Cam Newton makes every pass feel like he's got 12 guys coming after him. I feel like Foles was under pressure 10 times. 10 out of 31 dropbacks. That's not crazy.
No.
That's about league average. It felt like every pass he's just like, there's people, I gotta drift, I gotta fall, I'm all over the place. And sometimes it works and it makes it look spectacular. He did make some really nice throws again, and then he missed a bunch too. But Foles has this weird knack for making everything almost feel like it's difficult. So he started off great and then just slowed down, and the Saints defense really cracked down.
It did.
After that slow start.
It's kind of interesting. I was thinking about this before, that we've got at least 3 defenses that are really capable of turning it on and being kind of the reason that their team wins a game left, and then one that I'm not sure if they're capable of that.
The Chiefs were just begging them to be average.
Well, no, even the Chiefs. Like, we've seen the Chiefs' defense
who's the one
multiple
defense that
times.
can't be good?
The Rams? I don't know if the Rams are capable of taking over a
they're
game
better
like
than
that.
the Chiefs. Taking over
Are
a
they?
game?
Well, they're better defense than the Chiefs, but are they capable of taking over a game the way we've seen the Chiefs' defense do a few times this season? Because when the Chiefs' defense cooks, those guys up front just absolutely wreck things.
If you got a better version of Marcus Peters, because when Talib is out there,
right,
things are difficult. If you got a better version of Peters, and then you've got Donald and Playoff Sue, we'll call him Playoff Sue, that they've just unleashed, Wild Dogs Sue, you've got some pieces in there that could take over games.
You've pieces in there. I just don't know if the defense as a whole can do it. It may be.
So you think the Chiefs' defense is better than the Rams?
That's not what I said. That's not what I said. I think the Rams probably have a better defense.
I'll
but
let
the
you
Chiefs
have your nuance.
have a defense that's capable of taking over games in a way we haven't yet seen from the Rams. They might, because let's face it, the pieces they acquired on paper should be way better than they have been, but we haven't seen it yet.
No, I hear you.
Whereas the other 3 defenses, we've seen it from each one of those. The Saints, the Patriots, and the Chiefs have been able to turn it on at least in a game to show or to dominate in a way that they're not supposed to be able to do with the kind of quality they have.
Yeah, the Saints defense, and again, the difference between the Saints now, these last 2 years, and previous Drew Brees-led seasons is they have the ability to win multiple ways. They have balance as a team because their defense can get out there and win some games for them, as they did this season. Their running game can be a complementary piece more than they ever have. So you have guys like Eli Apple, who is ends up being a pretty nifty midseason pickup.
I wouldn't go that far.
No?
No.
He had a nice game.
He did.
But remember at the time, we said Ken Crawley's playing so poorly right now.
Yeah.
If Eli Apple is just a slight upgrade, it's a big difference.
Yeah.
He's been that.
He can, yeah. He can be. I would still be pretty concerned about going out with him as one of my starting cornerbacks.
Look, he's had some really nice games. He's had some bad games in there too, but he's had some really nice ones.
I'm just saying, I would be concerned.
Your whole point is on this like week to week.
Yes.
In any given
no,
week.
He's capable of, and that's why I'm saying
Apple.
this is one of the defenses that's capable of turning it on like that.
So he only gave up 15 yards on 4 targets yesterday. Marshawn Lattimore with that spectacular interception of Foles earlier on, and then that easy interception to seal the deal after the drop from Alshon Jeffrey. I feel for Alshon Jeffrey. By the way, I mean, lost in all this. And we talk about last week, it was like, I can't believe people were bragging about the Bears beating the Eagles. It was just one missed field goal. I mean, if Alshon Jeffrey catches that ball, where are they at? About the 30-yard line?
Right. I mean, they had a legit shot to win.
You've got the best postseason quarterback in the history of the NFL.
All time.
Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Driving him down. I was ready for them to drive down for the game-winning touchdown. I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if it happened. This was a close game.
They absolutely had a chance to win it at the end. And I do feel sorry for Jeffrey because he made a ton of big plays for them in this game. And it's just, if anyone deserved to have the mistake that essentially cost him the game, it shouldn't have been Jeffrey. He did more than enough to have earned earn that ball to bounce in a different way, and we wouldn't be talking about it.
Oh, he's definitely had some beautiful contested catches on passes that never should have been caught. The Eagles' defensive front ended up getting really banged up. Fletcher Cox in and out of the lineup, only 40 snaps. He's still, man, some of the plays that he had, forcing holds and stuff like that, almost just winning immediately off the snap. His power is just ridiculous. I think one of the big stories here, though, the Eagles came out and they looked like we're going to play some zone. We're going to just break hard on the underneath stuff, kind of force Breeze to throw the ball over our head. And Breeze's first pass is underthrown. Your boy, Crevon LeBlanc, makes a beautiful play for an interception.
He had a great game.
He did. But it looked like that was, so this is the game plan. We're going to jump the underneath stuff. We're going to limit yards after the catch because, Breeze is like Brady. He'll take the short stuff all day and then try to stretch the field when he needs to. But, he underthrew that pass. He underthrew a couple deep balls that he should have had. Taysom Hill threw the best ball of the game.
And he underthrew Taysom Hill.
Yeah, Taysom Hill had like 5 steps.
Right.
For a touchdown, and Breeze underthrew it with a clean pocket.
And not only that,
up and let
but
it go.
he didn't even need to, even if distance was the problem, right? Just put it left.
Oh, yeah. The one you could just throw it away from the safety.
He had lateral space to put that, even if he couldn't make it any further vertically.
Right. So I thought the game plan right off the bat looked good for the Eagles, but then I thought Breeze and the Saints did a nice job adjusting, and there was so many key 3rd and longs where they hit the dig route, so they started hitting the intermediate stuff behind defenders, so they did a good job. Again, balance on offense for the Saints. Okay, the short stuff might not be there all the time. The deep stuff's inconsistent with Breeze. We'll hit the intermediate stuff, and that was a big key to their adjustment.
Yeah, it seemed like the Eagles had just elected not to cover dig routes in this game.
Yeah,
which
5 for 6.
Feels like a problem.
5 for 6 for Breeze. 5 for 6 for 93 yards on 10 to 19-yard passes in between the numbers.
And if you want to talk about a receiver who legitimately has a case to be the best receiver in the NFL, Michael Thomas would be a guy that has a pretty strong argument.
Oh, absolutely.
16 targets in this game, 12 catches for 171 yards and a touchdown. Beats 6 different defenders, 4 catches. And I don't know how many of them came on those dig routes. I haven't looked that up, but it felt like a lot.
Yeah, he worked the middle of the field. He had the end zone fade from the slot. I thought the Saints also had another great play. If you guys have been paying attention to the NFL, it was the play the Patriots used on the 2-point conversion against Atlanta to tie at 28, where they have trips, 3 wide receivers to one side. They motion the outside guy in, give it to him, and they just run a quick screen right behind the 2 other receivers. The Patriots use it a ton. And then this year in the NFL, if you've been paying attention, it felt like every team was running this. Every 2-point attempt, every goal line play, everybody's running the same exact play. Quick screen, motion the guy in, run the quick screen. The Saints ran it. And I don't know if this was they ran the play and had an adjustment off of it, or if they just had a fake and then ran the corner route off of it. But I thought it was a great play. The whole NFL, when we joke about the NFL setting up the run, establishing the run as a whole, this felt like the whole NFL was setting up this fake screen for the Saints, because the whole NFL is running it. They faked it, and then they got the open receiver. That was Drew Brees' first touchdown. So I thought that was great play design. And that's the red zone. You have to scheme some plays open, and you have to have a Drew Brees to Michael Thomas connection for a fade.
I'm still waiting for the Saints to break out something crazy to Drew Brees when he splits out wide as a wide receiver in Taysom Hill's
Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying, right? They haven't broken it out yet. All season long, Drew Brees has just been standing there doing nothing, looking bored. Sooner or later, he's going to do that and then start running downfield for a touchdown.
Do you think ever in NFL history, and we can't even look this up, on back-to-back plays, Taysom Hill was the targeted receiver on a 40-plus yard pass,
right?
And on the next play, threw a 40-plus yard pass. It was negated, but it was the best throw of the game, and he put it on. And as he's doing it, I turned to my wife. I was like, oh, every time he throws deep, it's just a disaster. They should never do this. Oh, it's like, oh, wow.
Well, also, has any player in NFL history ever been hosed more on back-to-back plays? He got robbed of catching a 40-yard touchdown. Then he got robbed of throwing one the next play because of a holding call. Oh,
it's not her.
No? Okay.
Just push notification.
Just a notification.
Devin White has declared for the NFL draft.
Yeah, there you go.
For LSU. As expected.
Yes.
He might show up in my mock draft tomorrow. Check it out tomorrow.
Slick teaser.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. When you think about that, Taysom Hill, 40-yard touchdown as a receiver.
Right.
Hosed. 40-yard touchdown as a passer.
Hosed.
Man. Taysom Hill, MVP of the game.
Right. Drew Brees just holding him back.
Drew Brees just holding Taysom down. Yeah. Anyway, So the end result was as expected.
Yeah.
But this was another one that didn't go the way I expected it to go. I thought, maybe some more points. The Saints only scoring 20 in the Dome. Like, I just give a ton of credit to this Eagles defense and the way they've started to play down the stretch. You have to wonder with the Saints, when they started to struggle at times offensively down the stretch, the fact that it's you got Ted Ginn out there and you've got Keith Kirkwood out there, and when Breeze was on fire through about week 12, he was throwing these guys open. He was great, but at some point, are there lack of non-Michael Thomas playmakers and Alvin Kamara playmakers? Is that going to catch up to them?
I don't think so. I think if nothing else, we're going to be facing a team that doesn't have the Eagles' defensive front, and that's going to help.
That's true.
What we were saying heading into this game is that it was an interesting matchup because the Eagles still have the best defensive front in the game, but the Saints are equipped to get the ball out of Drew Brees' hands fast and essentially negate that the way they did the first time around. Now, it turns out that's a lot easier to do when you're facing, secondary that's been thrown together on the back of a napkin during the week, and none of those guys have any business being out there playing together. This secondary by the Eagles is actually capable of holding up for a little bit, so the Saints couldn't just get the ball out of their hands immediately. Drew Brees' average time to throw in this game was almost 2.6 seconds. That's like probably 0.3 faster than I would have thought it would be going into this game if they wanted to negate that Eagles defensive front.
Slower, you mean, right?
Yeah, sorry, slower.
Yeah.
So they didn't have the quick passing game that was supposed to be there, and that meant that the Eagles front could actually get after him and slow everything down and really make this a tighter game.
But they were so banged up.
Right. And it wasn't enough to get it done overall. But the point is, that's why the game was a little bit closer and the Saints didn't just run away with offense. Next week, you're going to be playing the Rams. Can the Rams do that to you? If you figure out a way of getting Aaron Donald blocked, they don't have that much else to be able to get after you, and at which point you should see the Saints start to put up points again.
They did a great job on Donald the first time around.
Right.
Play action game, slowing him down and all that stuff. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. The end of the season review for the Eagles, we won't get into all of the detail, but everybody's saying, well, they got this decision to make now, Nick Foles or Carson Wentz. I don't think it's a decision. Nick Foles, nice little run by him. Give him a ton of credit. Again, one of the weirdest NFL careers you'll ever see. One of the best postseason runs you'll ever see last year. And then, last week he was good, not great against the Bears, but it's going to be Carson Wentz's team going forward. Yeah,
I'm kind of bummed that we didn't see him win another Super Bowl just for the problems it would give the Eagles having to make that decision.
And then the Hall of Fame voting, right?
Obviously.
So Nick Foles has to go in. But Eli Manning has to go in, and poor Phillip Rivers. No.
Now they're going to get rid of Nick Foles. It's going to cost them $20 million to keep him, and that's not happening. So he'll go somewhere.
Who's going to pay Nick Foles?
The Jags. The Jags are going to hand Nick Foles a boatload of money to suck.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
The ironic thing is, right, so as impressive as these runs have been, if you gave Nick Foles 16 games starting next season, what do you think his PFF grade would be?
73.
Right. Which would be what? Where does that rank you?
Off the top of my
now?
head, just 73. It's probably 22nd.
Okay, off the top of your head, 73 overall PFF grade, which would rank you 22nd. And if I can get the site to load, then I can stop.
Oh, I thought you were giving me the answer rather than.
No, I was. If I get the site to load, then I could stop talking and be able to extend. 73 grade, which would rank you. What did you say?
I said 22nd.
Damn you! That would rank you 20 for. Actually, it would rank you 22nd because Derek Carr finished the season 21st with 73.4. So 73 would actually put him where Joe Flacco is right now, which is 22nd. You should not be able to do that.
Sam gets very angry when I guess random stuff almost perfectly.
Right. You should not.
Happens very often.
You shouldn't be able to just guess that.
That's wrong. I have a feel for our quarterback grading.
No.
I just have a feel.
You have some sort of weird...
You guys can have a feel too. If you have PFF Elite Premium Stats 2.0, study it like Steve does. You'll know all this stuff.
No, you don't get that because you study. You get that because you have some sort of weird connection tapped into the matrix somehow.
I do.
Right.
So credit the Saints. They pull off the win 20-14 against the Eagles. I think ultimately when you look at it, the Eagles were just overmatched in some of the wrong places in the secondary and all that stuff. I love the way they came together down the stretch, but it was just really tough. And Nick Foles still
Yeah, I
he
mean,
overachieved a
the
lot.
secondary did have its problems, but ultimately they lost because they didn't score after getting 14.
Yeah. No, that was a big factor.
Right,
I really
I mean-
thought they were going to go down and score, though. I
Right. The secondary did get beaten on some plays, but they still did hold the Saints to 20 points overall.
Right.
And the Eagles had the ball late in the game, driving to win.
They did.
Before Alshon Jeffrey, dropped
don't
it.
blame Nick Foles for the last interception, though.
I
Of course,
didn't.
it's not his fault.
I
I'm not saying
blamed
you are. I'm just
Alshon
telling
Jeffrey.
everyone. Do not blame Nick Foles for that.
Could blame him for the other one.
So all 4 teams move on. They all had byes. They all played at home. I think they're the 4 best teams in the NFL, and next weekend should be some pretty good football games.